Donald Trump isn't just corrupt, he's an outright embarrassment. Time and time again, he has represented this country on the world stage in ways that make us all cringe. One moment that stood out was his bizarre rant at the United Nations, where instead of focusing on global issues, he complained about escalators and teleprompters. And somehow, it only got worse. To close out the week, Trump made headlines again. Not for leadership, but for making a scene at the Ryder Cup, a major golf tournament between the United States and Europe. You'd think an event centered around golf would be right up his alley, but instead, it ended with European golfers, including Rory McIlroy, giving Trump a taste of his own medicine through Mockery. We'll break down that moment and the meltdown that followed on his social media platform. But first, I want to highlight something important. While Trump was spending his time at the golf course, a looming government shutdown was front and center, and Senator Chris Van Hollen called out exactly that.
President Trump's going to meet with congressional leaders at the White House tomorrow. You just heard Speaker Mike Johnson effectively saying there's really nothing that we're going to offer them. If that is the case and the government funding bill is just this clean CR that they're talking about, are you going to vote no?
Well, Jake, it's good to see the president finally get off the golf course and decide to talk and avoid the government shutdown he's been taking us to. And he's been much more focused, as we all know, on keeping the Epstein files locked up than keeping the government open. Look, the president wants a blank check. This is a lawless president. He's been illegally withholding funds. He promised on day one he was going to bring down prices. They've gone up. What we're saying is that we should turn off this ticking time bomb, which Republicans left in place, that's going to create a huge spike in healthcare premiums for about 20 million Americans. Until now, the president has said, nope, he'd rather shut down the government than prevent those healthcare costs from spiking. I'm glad we're finally talking. We'll see what happens.
This time last year, when there was a government shutdown looming, you said that a shutdown would, quote, needlessly disrupt essential government services and leave tens of thousands of federal employees working in Maryland without pay, unquote. The year before that, you said keeping the government open was, quote, one of our most basic responsibilities as lawmakers, unquote. Is none of that operative anymore?
Well, Jake, it is. It would be very disruptive, which is why I'm opposed to having a government shutdown. And Donald Trump is the one that has been driving us in that direction, along with Republicans on Capitol Hill, who have totally forfeited their constitutional responsibilities to Donald Trump. I mean, they have abdicated those responsibilities, subcontracted out to Donald Trump. If you talk to Senate Republicans, they understand that giving the president a blank check to illegally withhold funds, which he's been doing from day one, much of it with the help of Elon Musk, that's the wrong way to go. But they refuse to stand up to him, and we're not going to write a blank check, and we want to prevent these huge spikes in healthcare costs. That's what we're after. Again, he promised lower prices across the board. His across-the-board tariffs are jacking up prices on everybody. We're focused on trying to address this issue. The president apparently doesn't give a damn and is prepared to shut down the government rather than deal with this healthcare spike.
It's no surprise that Donald Trump seems more interested in a golf tournament than in the very real possibility of a government shutdown. The truth is, he doesn't care which way it goes. At this point, many Democrats believe that if Republicans can't govern, then the shutdown itself should be proof of that failure. It highlights a fundamental truth. Republicans can't compromise. They can't unify even within their own caucus. And Donald Trump certainly isn't providing leadership. And let's be real, passing a budget doesn't guarantee Trump would follow the law or respect what's been appropriated. He never has. So why should we play along with the idea that this is normal politics with reasonable actors working in good faith? That's just not the reality we're living in. Before we get into how Trump was openly mocked on the golf course, I want to start with how his closest allies are already trying to spin this shutdown narrative and how it really feels to them.
Leverage is in the president's hands because the overwhelming majority of the American public wants to keep the government open. I mean, it's not even close. Democrats and Republicans, independents across the country want the government funded because they want our military and our troops to be paid. They want TSA agents and Border Patrol to be paid. They want food assistance programs for women and children in impoverished communities to continue going out the door. All of that will come to an end if Democrats vote against this clean CR that Republicans are proposing. And might I just add, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are on the record multiple times in their past political lives stating that they too believe a government shutdown is bad. In fact, I quote, Chuck Schumer just last year in 2024 said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Well, we hope that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats won't cause chaos and pain and heartache. We want our country to continue to be funded. We want our government to be open so we can continue doing the business of the American people.
Are we really supposed to believe that Democrats are the ones trying to cut food assistance? Let's not forget, it was Republicans who gutted programs like Meals on Wheels, targeting some of the most vulnerable people in this country. That's not policy. That's cruelty. So I don't want to hear a single word about Democrats supposedly shutting things down when they aren't even in power. This is the endless victimhood cycle we see from MAGA. 1 minute, they claim to have overwhelming support. The next, they whine that everyone's being unfair and the Democrats are somehow secretly in control, while at the same time insisting their leader can do whatever he wants, unchecked. None of it adds up. Their worldview is completely twisted, which is why they can't be treated like reasonable actors. That's exactly why, with a looming government shutdown, Democrats need to use this as an opportunity to show that Trump and his allies can't govern. And make no mistake, Trump himself is already taking hits where it stings. Case in point, the Ryder Cup, where Europe took the win and Rory McIlroy gave Trump a dose of his own medicine. That moment went mega viral for a reason.
Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching Donald Trump? Are you watching Donald Trump?
Now, it wasn't just that Rory did a little bit of trolling of Donald Trump, which I thought was pretty funny there. It was also that the golfers on the European team kind of talked about the environment of the Ryder Cup and how, this goon, as has been the case with everything in American society, it just felt off. Rory McIlroy, I'm sure, also felt extra bit of anger towards Donald Trump and in the way that he has made American society so uneasy because his wife had a beer thrown at her during the tournament. His wife, Donald Trump, has built this America where people with money, people who think they have influence, people who get a ticket to an event think it means they can do whatever they want. That is something that Donald Trump has fundamentally changed about our society. He has excused and welcomed the worst elements of people thinking that they can do whatever they want. It used to be that a lot of these disgusting individuals, and let's just be frankly like these bigoted racists, had to keep that behind closed doors. They had to keep it in. And then Trump comes and says, "Oh, this black president, I don't think he was born here." And all the racists get riled up. And then Donald Trump starts talking about locking up Hillary, right? And all the people who want to go in the streets and just fight, they start to get riled up. And then the man literally sends insurrectionists towards the Capitol to beat up cops and try to kill Nancy Pelosi. And they're like, oh my God, I guess we really can do anything we want. And then Donald Trump pardons those people. And now all hell breaks loose. You don't think that the jump in political violence is tied with Donald Trump? Stop it. He is responsible. It rests squarely on his shoulders. And good for those golfers for mocking Donald Trump. Clearly, he's not happy with all that's going on right now in New York where this event took place, because he had some thoughts for Zohran Mamdani as well. Trump took to Truth Social and wrote, "Self-proclaimed New York City communist Zohran Mamdani, who is running for mayor, will prove to be one of the best things to ever happen to our great Republican Party. He is going to have problems with Washington like no mayor in history of our once great city. Remember, he needs the money from me as president in order to fulfill all of his fake communist promises. He won't be getting any of it. So, what's the point of voting for him? This ideology has failed always for thousands of years. It will fail again, and that's guaranteed. President DJT. When you look at this post, one thing really stands out. Donald Trump keeps repeating the word communist over and over. And as Zohran pointed out, it's telling that they can't just rely on calling people socialists anymore, because that doesn't land the same way it used to. Zohran himself, much like Bernie Sanders, proudly identifies as a democratic socialist. Someone who believes kids should have access to food, that families shouldn't go broke paying for childcare, that public transit should be fast and affordable, and that people should be able to pay their rent without drowning in debt. If that's what they want to label as extreme, then it says more about them than it does about him. Trump's obsession here also shows how worried he really is about this race. Eric Adams just dropped out, likely to clear the way for Cuomo to try to take on Zohran, but that's not going to happen. Polls still show Zohran leading by double digits, up 15 to 16 points, and that highlights exactly what Trump wants in his allies. People he can control, people he can buy off. That's how his circle works, but Zohran Mamdani has made it clear he's not for sale. And he drove that point home right here.
Joining us exclusively for his first live sit-down interview since the shakeup in the race, Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee in the New York City mayoral race. Great to have you back here on the set. We got to say that we weren't expecting to have you here, so we really appreciate you making time because of the news. I'll start broadly by getting your reaction to the fact that Eric Adams, who is polling fourth, has dropped out, and what this means for the race going forward.
Look, Donald Trump and his billionaire donors may be able to determine the actions of Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo, but they will not dictate the results of this election. This continues to be the same election as it was when we started on October 23rd, a choice that New Yorkers have between Eric Adams' record, which is Andrew Cuomo's agenda, one that has priced New Yorkers out of what is now the most expensive city in the United States of America, or our vision for a city that New Yorkers can actually afford. And I'm excited and just as confident as I was yesterday at actually delivering that vision and winning this race on November 4th.
Do you have a sense of what's behind this decision today? We've all heard that Curtis Lewa, the Republican, claims that he's been offered large sums of money from powerful people to get out of the way. Do you think that's what's happened here?
I think we have to put this in a larger context, where after we beat Andrew Cuomo by 13 points in the Democratic primary, he called Donald Trump to ask what they could do together to defeat our campaign in the general election. And Donald Trump has spoken time and again about how he wants to narrow this race, how he wants to use every tool at his disposal to try and stop this campaign for affordability. And we're seeing, amidst all of that, here yet again, the moment where he is shaping this race, but we're going to show him that New Yorkers are tired of his politics and they're tired of being priced out of the city.
Anyone who's been following this show knows that this has been one of the most inspiring races I've seen in the post-Trump era. Here, we have a candidate who is actually talking about the real issues that matter. Someone energizing my generation like few others in recent history, and doing it with joy. And that joy is important, because not only is he the one candidate who refuses to bend to Trump, he's also facing off against a campaign funded by the very same billionaires and corporate interests that back Trump and continue to profit from making life harder for everyday people. That's what makes Zohran stand out. He's not just in direct opposition to the corruption and influence we've seen in politics. He's doing it with hope, energy, and positivity. That's exactly the kind of candidate we need right now, and exactly the kind of leader we'll keep uplifting on this show. If you want to support that mission, don't forget to hit subscribe, drop a like on this video, and if you made it all the way to the end, leave a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.